Alright guys, welcome back. So we are back from picking a replacement screen. This is the Samsung A11. So it's on build. In case you're wondering how far we reached here, watch the previous video. This is just to show you how to securely place or how to place securely your screen onto the frame of the phone. This is just to give you a glimpse of how to get to the screen. And this part is more or less what you'd go through when replacing the battery. Disconnect that connector, then that connector, and then this connector. So this screen is designed in a manner that the same fiber takes signals both to the touch and LCD and also to the lower subboard. So they tend to be slightly expensive because it's like implementing 3 ribbons into one. Now this passes here after you've lifted that board. It's just a highlight bar. All this is in the previous video. So this is just a crash course for those who would want to remove the old screen. Anyway, before you secure the old screen into place, this I normally put to protect the camera lens from me touching it. I think similarly, let me put something here because I'm going to be scraping off the residual adhesive from the old dead screen from here. And such, I might just put a small piece of paper over it and then tape it down. Alright, so this will help me with that, and then I can now proceed to scrape off the residual adhesive, because normally the quality of the bond depends on how clean the two surfaces that are being bonded are. And so you want it to be as clean as possible. That's where you place the screen and it's as nice as though it has never been replaced, and it also helps with its long lifespan, because I've had screens replaced and have lasted over 4 years plus. That's the oldest feedback I've ever gotten. Okay, so scrape that. I want to go with my finger. Alright. Okay, so that's why I hold it upside down, sort of as a precaution. So get all of this. Now be careful not to throw away that grill that protects the earpiece speaker from having dust settling on it. That would affect the quality of the sound coming out of it. So that needs to be retained. Now I need to clean this with some isopropyl alcohol, and that is to remove any oily or greasy substance that may be lying in between there. Where is my brush? Okay, it's this one. Alright. So I'm supposed to be using tissue, but I'm out of tissue. It was easy to control, but because now I'm dealing with this area where I have camera lenses lying, I want that fluid going into them. So I'm going to just use a piece of paper right there and do that. I hope I'm still in frame. Alright, so that's okay. Now we make sure there's no particle in between, because it's tend to squeeze against the screen, causing isolated spots of high brightness. Alright, so we want it to sit flush. Okay, that's done. Now in case you're wondering, next stage is simply to apply adhesive to both surfaces. So this is A11. It's sort of rubberized glue, and it tends to form a stronger bond compared to the previous ones, like the B7000 or T7000. This forms a much stronger bond, seeing that the surface for which bonding happens is really tiny, you need a stronger bond forming glue. Okay? You get the idea. So we move it like that, and do not use excess because you do not want it spilling all over the bottom of the screen. Okay, so make sure it enters that tiny groove there that offers anchoring space for the two surfaces. Now, over the years I've learned that it's more effective when you put on both surfaces. Okay, I'm going to presume this one is clean, seeing that it's a new screen. Just make sure there's no debris on the other side. Okay, this has already been clamped down. Usually the sticker is not removed, so you have to remove it and make sure this is clamped down onto the surface of the screen. This will remove it at the point of putting it together, because that hole that allows the front camera to see that needs to stay clean. And also pay attention to that transparent part. Do not put adhesive in it. That's the proximity sensor. It allows the phone detect that it has been brought to the ear, such that it disables the touch functions of the screen, so that your skin does not keep on dialing or typing things in the middle of the call. So that's how. Alright, and then bring it all the way. Now, because this is a new tube of adhesive, it's a bit more fluid than I want it to be, so I'll give it just a minute to have some of the solvent evaporate, that it has sort of viscousness to it, or moltenness. Anyway, in case you're new, please do hit the subscribe button, and if you're wondering what we are doing, we are actually showing you how to securely place a new screen onto your phone. So at this point, I think let me also be removing this, because I think it has served its purpose. And then we need to get rid of those particles. We don't want it staying there. Right. Just turn it upside down and brush it off so it falls under its weight. Okay, so now a minute, I believe, has elapsed, and at this point I'm free to peel this off. Right. Okay, so next step is didn't have to touch there, but good thing is I put on both surfaces, so that goes in first, and then this one goes in second, the smaller. Alright, then we bring them and align it right there. Okay, now that it is aligned, we can now make the coaxial cable, and this cable normally helps with network transfer from the lower subboard where the antennas make contact to the motherboard. So if you've gone for a screen replacement and it comes back without network, it's likely they forgot to plug it back. So be nice to the person who did it. If they know, they most likely will check if they plugged that back in. So it's a simple issue. Right, so we need to peel this. This covers adhesive that allows stick this fiber down. So it goes there, and then normally first fold this backward and then fold it forward to allow it to go in a manner that when the battery sits, it's not struggling to fit. Okay, so we plug that, and at this point we are going to power it up. want to make sure we are progressing steadily. I could power it at the end, but it's safer to do that now. So this, I'm not going to reuse it. It will have to go. Then I need to flatten that surface, but I need to use a material that is not sharp or pointed, because we don't want air being able to go inside the battery. But neither do we want the battery to occupy more space than it should. Alright, I won't place. Oh, still sticky. I think it's okay. It will add hair. Right, that's the beauty of being the first inside the phone. Now that that is there, we can plug in the battery. Plug in the battery and hit the power button. Okay. So the display shows as it's booting. Let's be assembling the other parts, and eventually we'll test the touch. Alright. Okay, so this has to go in, and this is the fingerprint sensor. Though right now it may not read, we'll need to restart the phone for it to read. Normally most of them don't read if the phone was already powering on and you plug in it later. So don't panic in case you come across such a challenge. Just restart the phone, life will be okay. Alright, so okay, let's get our screws. The silver ones were the ones holding down this plate that restrains the battery connector, and the screen connector, and the connector that takes signal to the lower board. So I think there must be something under here. Alright, so that is that. Now we bring a speaker and plug it in. 1G, let me come back. Alright, so I'm wondering why I have more silver screws, but let's first use the black ones and know that whatever remains belongs to the silver screws. Now, normally it's wise to begin with sensitive areas in case you have fewer screws. That is, charging port, those are subjected to pushing and pulling forces. And then where the loudspeaker is, say that contact between the speaker and the board. Watch out, my back is in the way. Okay, so I don't mind that was for someone moving with boiling water, but I think they belong. I didn't really expect a mix of silver and black. Now that that is done, next thing is to bring the back cover. Now the back cover, now when you see where the buttons are, what you do is you should bend away so that these make contact first, and then you can squeeze the other side past, because they have a tendency of ripping off these metal caps that do the physical shorting of the power lines for it to detect that the button has been pressed. So what's under here? Every time you meet resistance, please do not insist. That's the phone speaking back to you. So that camera lens hadn't sat down entirely. So let's again do another attempt. Still feel resistance. What could be in between? This is seated. That's seated. Alright. Let's go to it again. Okay. I think the camera was lifting immediately I released it. And first check how clear this and whether I need to okay, after cleaning the surface, at least the other side looks clear. So that if it had been on the other side, I would have to open and clean it up. Now that we've finished closing, let me test the touch using the emergency. Okay, that's good. Now we bring it and give it thread therapy. Normally I use threads because, unlike rubber bands, I'm able to distribute the tension that ties the screen together all over the peripheries of the phone, so that the pressure is evenly distributed, allowing the phone screen to dry flush with. So I'm applying some tension as I move, some pulling force as I put these threads around, so that collectively the pressing force is significant. Okay, now because this adhesive really has a high bonding strength, at least I'm very sure this person will enjoy this device. So next thing, we are going to put it in the oven or hot plate at around 45 degrees to accelerate the evaporation of the solvent in the glue, because basically these are physical changes, so there's no chemistry whatsoever or reaction happening, and that's why you choose to accelerate the evaporation, so it gains some good initial strength for us to be able to apply the screen guard, and the client could be able to now use it within 6 hours. Otherwise it would be 48 hours for perfect bond to form, and that's when they would have to put the screen guard. But then again, that's too much pain to subject the client to. So those are actually also scenarios whereby people replace screens and they're like, I will never replace my screen. That's because they are quick to remove the rubber bands used before the glue fully sets, and once there's any defect in how the screen has been placed, it subjects it to have areas that have higher susceptibility to failing. For instance, if the glass is not sitting flush with the frame, that means if the phone falls, the glass will make contact first, and then also at times gaps, and it keeps moving up and down, and that tends to flex the cable until it fatigues, and you start having areas around the screen where it doesn't touch. So see you in the next video. We are done. I do not know whether I'll film the point where I put the screen guard, but a lot of people struggle in that light. But then again, it will also give me an opportunity to test out my laminar airflow fan to allow the dust-free environment when I'm putting the screen guard. See you in that video. Subscribe.